At the beginning of the year, talked about this, this being one of the most competitive and awesome years that I think is what a lot of us were expecting going into this. Just how much experience teams were having back, and just where the level of play could be, and I think that's exactly what we're seeing right now. We've got coming down the home stretch, the last 2 weekends, four matches to play, and we've got 5 teams that are all within either in the lead or one match away from the lead in the Big Ten, which is just it's exciting. It's an unbelievable opportunity that we're in the mix of. A lot of those teams happen to be playing each other these last couple of weeks, so which should make it exciting. I can only imagine what these home venues are going to be like these next couple of weeks, and what the TV audiences are going to be, because it's a lot of matches that really matter, and we're fired up to be a part of it.
Question from Dennis.
I know you start out a season trying to get to this point peaking, and you go through and experiment along the way. Do you think you've sorted things through? Do you see that peak on the horizon? Are there lingering issues that trouble you a little?
No, I don't think anything is troubling. I think we're a team, and we've been saying this all year, that it's we're trying to find ways to get better constantly. That's always the process, and there's and you've got to pivot a lot. You're pivoting a lot, sometimes due to health, and sometimes due to what the opponents are exposing, and all those types of things. But there's we're just up there as a staff, and there's a lot of things that we are working on that we're seeing us get a lot better. And then there's other things. It's like, well, all right, this is going to be a focus of this week, and. I would say everybody's in the same way. I think sometimes, you were asking the other day after a match, was there, were you, I don't forget how you worded it, but it was kind of, are you panicking after the first set or anything? It's like, no, there wasn't any of that. I don't think any of the players were feeling that, the coaches weren't feeling that, and nobody at all. But I think sometimes when, maybe when you're a fan of a program and you watch, teams maybe not playing at the level that you're hoping, or take a loss or two, that frustration, panic, or whatever can key in. But the last month of the past month, all those teams that I just mentioned, I think every single one of them have the exact same record over the last month. I think we're 6-2 of our last 8, and I think everybody else is 6-2. There might be one team that's 5-3 in that, but that's what this league is. It is really hard, really challenging, really awesome, and it is a big time grind. That we're trying to find ways to continue to get better, just like everybody else. So we're, if you're not embracing this as a team and as staff and as a program, then you're in the wrong place. It's you're in the wrong conference, and you're in the wrong business. And so there's nothing but excitement, enthusiasm for opportunity in front of us, but also realization, man, this is really hard. This is really hard stuff, and the teams that are tough, that get back to work and have a short memory, whether it's good or bad. You can't be riding this roller coaster, certainly, especially this time of year, because if you are, then you're just going to get knocked down. Is that let's keep putting one foot in front of the other, and everybody else is in a similar situation, and this is awesome. It's awesome that we get to do this, and so that's genuine. What I'm saying. That's not something that I'm putting a smiley face on whatever. It's genuinely how I feel about where we're at today.
With the Big Ten Championship coming down to these last 4 matches, how do you kind of concentrate on what your team needs to do and kind of ignore everything else kind of going on around you?
Yeah, you gave me you gave me a list of results from Sunday, after the press conference, and here's what happened out in the league. And I think I gave you the sheet back. I didn't even look at it. Because you're right. It's you've got to be locked in on your own needs and your own team and your staff and your players and what do we've got to do to get better and genuinely think if we're doing everything that we can on our end, it's that lame saying of control what you can control, but it's really important, because if you're putting your attention elsewhere, then you're taking away from the people that are trusting you to help them, and we've got to get a little bit more consistent on our end. I don't think that we've been as consistent in certain areas. There's been a couple matches where we've been really good in one area of our game, and then not so good in another, and it's a different match. It's a couple other things that we're really playing well at in some other areas that we're not, and and that's sport, and that's also that's every sport. It's and what your opponent are trying to take away from. And, we want to continue to get better individually and as a team and stay in the fight and grind, because that's that this league rewards players and teams that can stay in the fight and do it together.
Devyn Robinson had to kind of shift roles fairly early in the season.
Yeah.
And yesterday seemed to have probably her most impactful match as a middle. How would you describe her season and the progression to get to this point?
It's been great, and she has worked a lot. It is a very different deal being an opposite versus being a middle, and you can sit there and say, well, she played middle in high school, and high school volleyball and Big Ten volleyball is not the same thing. And what the setters and the offenses are doing and is completely different. So what the eyes are, the eyes are so critical in as a middle blocker, and with the tempo that people are doing and not taking false moves and things, because you'll just get toasted. You'll get if you're doing that. And she was getting toasted, roasted, however that you want to put it, at the beginning. And in the middle of that, she's getting highly frustrated. And during the middle of plays, she was still finding some ways to score, but there was a lot of holes in her game. And I've seen a player that's she's just gone to work. She gets in and watches the film, and you can see her learning from week to week, and that's what's really fun about watching her. And she's not the only one. I mean, we've got quite a few players that you're just watching. It's like, all right, she's in a different spot now than maybe what she was a month ago. She's the slide attack has become more of a weapon for her than what it was. Her quicks are she just gets up there, and it's she can get on a ball in a hurry. There was a little bit people were serving in ways to kind of take her out maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago that aren't happening quite as much now with the path of the ball from the server to the passer. She's able to flow with those things as people are getting some film. That's making a real big difference. But I love her progress, and we're figuring out a little bit better on how we can utilize her. I'd say the same thing with Anna Smrek and Jade Demps. I mean, you can see them kind of how we're utilizing them in the offense is it's evolving as they're putting more things on film, and we're able to learn a little bit more about them, and their confidence in their game is growing, and hopefully in the next couple of weeks, I mean, we're looking even cleaner in those areas.
Saw Geo this weekend out before matches, warming up, and she's just going through tough physical stretch here, challenges. What's her prospects going forward? Is she making progress?
You know, it's a. We started to call her. She started to get a nickname. I think Kevin, our strength coach, gave it to her a few weeks ago. The Black Knight. You know, it's from Monty Python and the Holy Grail. You know, it's only a flesh wound. You know, it's you know, we're playing Purdue Friday, and I said, all right, we're starting rotation 2, and she comes up and says, rotation 2, that means I'm in. And I said, no, that doesn't mean you're in. Go sit down. And I think we started in rotation 2 also against Northwestern. I said, all right, we're starting rotation 2. All right, let's go. And everybody goes to stand for the national anthem, and she walked back over to me and, you know, rotation 2, that means I'm in right now. I go, Geo, you're not cleared yet, so go step aside. She is chomping at the bit to get out there. You know, when she gets out there, I don't know. I don't think it's a question of if. I think she will be. But you know, she's doing a little bit more every day, and wow, the things that she's been through and how she is looking when she's doing some work and you know, additional work each day in practice. It's you don't get shocked too often, but I'm shocked. It's just she's unbelievable.